Welcome to the Balanced Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Lindsay Sherman, fitness coach for burnt out perfectionists. If you're ready to break free from overwhelm, simplify your nutrition, and make fitness finally work for you instead of against you, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll dive into easy strategies to balance your health with your busy life. Let's hustle for balance, not burnout. Grab a seat and let's dive in. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to be back. I am coming back after having my baby. So today is literally the perfect day to record a podcast. It is 10 degrees outside. It's very cold. It has been single digits or around this temperature for the last few weeks. So there's been no doing anything outside. I just want to take the baby outside, take the dogs outside, and go for a walk so bad, but it's a little too cold. So until then, we are maximizing our indoor time. And I have learned that I have to be very efficient now having a baby. And it's like when that baby goes down for a nap, we are getting things done. So we are currently recording with the time that we have. When she wakes up, she wakes up. And I still don't really understand how people say nap when the baby naps or sleep when the baby sleeps. Because when that baby goes down, I'm like, I got things to do. I am running around the house, just doing all the things that are harder to do one-handed. Obviously, I can put her in a carrier, but it's just a little bit different. So I actually like it. I love being home, and I love trying to find new ways to be efficient. So we are busting out a podcast because I had a window to do a podcast. So that means we either do it or we don't. So we're getting it done. And today's episode is going to be about restarting your fitness journey, rebuilding your fitness from the ground up, from zero, after you've taken some time off. This topic has been on my mind, obviously a lot lately, coming back from having a baby from my first pregnancy, and being postpartum and getting ready to rebuild my fitness, from the ground up. I'm not cleared yet to go back into, all out exercise. I still have a few weeks until I talk to my doctor about that, which is fine. It works out fine because my home gym is now in the garage, which currently doesn't have heat right now. And with it being 10 degrees, that's kind of the last place I want to be, is out there. We decided not to heat it this winter because I just figured I would not be out there much until spring anyway. Now, if all goes well, I should be out there hopefully soon again, but I can start doing some things. I can bring some dumbbells in the house and start doing some things inside without using my bigger equipment, barbells, stuff out there till spring. We'll kind of see how it goes. But it's been on my mind a lot lately about how I want to rebuild my fitness and what kind of goals I want to have this spring, this summer, this year. And it made me think a lot of people are starting from zero. Maybe you had some time off this winter. Maybe you've never really had a good fitness routine and we're building from the ground up. So I'm going to do that with you this spring. And I wanted to talk about, where do you even start when you're just starting from scratch? You don't really have any momentum going. You don't really have a plan. Where do you start? So number one, jumping right into it, is if you have been in a place before where you've been in a really good place with your fitness, maybe you used to be an athlete in school, or you used to be really fit and then you had a baby or life happened or who knows what, first thing that we need to do is try to stop mourning that past version of yourself that you just no longer are at the moment, right? So if you used to be able to lift a certain amount, you used to be able to deadlift or bench press a certain amount of weight. I hear this from a lot of clients when we restart their fitness journeys, if they've fallen off for a while, is they keep telling me I used to be able to do this and I used to be able to do that and I used to be at this weight and now I've gained this much weight. And it really doesn't do us much good to continue to kind of mourn that past version of ourselves, and to keep, wishing that we are that person that we used to be. And for whatever reason, that you are restarting your fitness journey, you're a completely new person than you used to be. And that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. Maybe you got a new job and you had to dedicate some more time to your career, right? We had to take some space for that. Maybe you had a baby. That's amazing. We had to take some space from that. Maybe you had to take some time to grow in other ways, right? Maybe you moved. Maybe you bought a house. Maybe you were remodeling that house, right? There's so many things in life that can kind of interrupt our fitness journey. And even if we don't stop completely, maybe we're just not at that grind, at that hustle that we were at when we were lifting X amount of weight or running X amount of miles in X amount of time, right? So first off, we have to stop being sad about who we used to be, because likely we had to open up space for something else, and that is also amazing. So step one is to just put that in the past, put that beside us, behind us, and start celebrating who we are now and what we want to do now, right? So second thing is we need to get clear on who we want to be in this new phase of life, our new identity. So just really taking a minute to sit down and figure out who you want to be, what you want to feel like. Not only like, do I want to lose X amount of pounds, but I want to feel amazing when I put jeans on. I want to look in the mirror every morning and feel good in the clothes I wear. I want to feel confident when I walk out the door, things like that, right? Who do you want to be in this new phase of life? For me, being a mom now, I want to be a present mom who enjoys family time and is present mentally and physically for my family, but I also want to feel strong, and I want to feel badass, and I want to feel like I could kick some butt and I can flex, right? And have the muscles. And I'm still brainstorming what this looks like as I get ready to hopefully head back into, my full-on fitness journey here. But just, how do you want to feel? And think of what that new identity is and what your long and short-term goals are. And I also like to phrase this as, what are our process and outcome goals? So if you're someone who wants to run a race, so you want to run a half marathon, that's your long-term goal or your outcome goal, right? Is finishing that half marathon. But also, what are your process goals? What are the short-term things that are pushing you in that direction? So, I want to run 3 times a week. I want to run new trails, whether you're a trail runner or a road runner, or I want to enjoy running with the dogs, something like that, right? So start thinking about what it looks like from point A to point B of you embodying this new identity. Because it's not only when you get to the end result, it's embodying the process along the way, right? They always have that saying, like, and I can't remember it exactly right now, but it's not the destination. It's not always about the destination. It's the journey, right? So how do we want to feel as we work towards that process? Because that is also part of our identity, right? You don't just snap your fingers and one day you've run that half marathon and now you're in your new identity and we stop, right? It's what you're doing every day to live out that long-term goal. And we want to get clear on what that looks like and get really excited about who we are going to start embodying, right? Step 3, we need to meet yourself where you're at, but start upping the challenge. So I'm going to use a very close to home real life example right now for myself. Again, I'm not to the point yet where I'm cleared to get back into weightlifting, full out working out, but I wanted to start feeling a little bit more active and start building some more discipline again for myself and routine, because I am at home. I am starting a new routine, having a baby and working alongside doing that. And I wanted to start building some more routine, structure, discipline to help me transition into when I get to start working out again, and when the weather gets nicer and I can get outside and maybe do some running. I'm thinking about running. Don't hold me to it. I've never really been a runner, but feels like kind of the person I want to embody as a runner. But so I started setting some small goals for myself, right? I have a water goal that I strive to hit every day, and then I have a step goal. And when I say you need to meet yourself where you're at, but start upping the challenge, my step goal is a very good example of this. So what I did was I have my Garmin. I wear my Garmin every day. And, a couple weeks in from being home from the hospital, I started to look at the patterns and look at how many steps I was getting in on a daily basis. And it was around 1,000 to 1,500 steps. It was not much at all. Lots of couch time, lots of cuddling the baby, lots of TV time. My husband is cooking us meals. He's, grabbing me things from other rooms so I don't have to get up with the baby, things like that. Not moving around a whole lot, right? And that's fine. Totally fine. Love those moments, just having some downtime, things like that. But I wanted to start getting active again, right? Because I know my body feels better when I am more active. My back feels better from not sitting so much. And so I wanted to set myself a step goal. Get more active. I'm someone who used to be, 8 to 10,000 steps a day. Want to get back to that place, right? To embody the identity that I want to embody this year. But I did not say, okay, I'm getting 1,500 steps a day. I'm going to set my new goal to 8,000. And I'm just going to do that. That is not what we need to be doing, right? We want to challenge ourselves, but we also need to meet ourselves where we're at. Same thing with if you want to get some more protein in your diet and you're only eating, 50 grams of protein a day, for example, we're not automatically saying, okay, I'm going to start eating 150 grams now. Even if that's where you ultimately want to be or you feel you need to be, just throwing out numbers here for whatever goals you have, that is not going to get you there in a realistic way. You're just going to, hate to say it, but you're just going to fail, right? You're just going to fail. Maybe you'll hit it for a couple days, but it's too big of a stretch. It's too big of a gap to close. So I literally, with my steps, set myself a goal of 3,000 daily steps. Now, someone else looking at that might have said, that's nothing, right? I work with farmers, right, who are getting, 15, 20,000, 30,000 sometimes steps in a day. That's what I used to be getting in as a farmer. If I had heard oh, your fitness or your step goal is only 3,000 and you're a fitness coach, what are you doing? That's nothing, right? But that does not matter. What mattered was it was pushing me to do a little bit more every day, right? And it wasn't hard per se because I'm still in a resting phase, right? But it did require me to try. It did require me to get up consciously off the couch and take a little bit of a walk every day, around the house or on my walking pad. It's too cold to be walking outside, but it required me to put in a little bit more than I currently was putting in. Then, after I did that consistently I give myself about a week there. Now, you may want to give yourself a little longer, depending on how big of a gap you are trying to fill here. But that felt really good. I was able to really do that well for about, consistently for a week. The next week I upped it to 4,000 because I knew that, again, I could handle that. That was something that was doable, but it was just going to push me a little bit further the next week. And now I've worked up to 5,000, which again, does not feel like, oh, that's a huge amount of steps. Like, how are you going to get anywhere on 5,000 steps? And regardless of or not, whether you're in a postpartum period like I am, it doesn't matter. This is how I would work anybody up, right? Never taking someone from, 1,500 steps to 10,000 steps, in a week. It's just not realistic. And just because you're not at that big 10,000 step number does not mean it's not counting, does not mean it's not doing something. If you look at, if I'm going from 1,500 steps to 3,000 steps every day, think about how many added steps that is over the course of a week. 1,000 extra steps a day is 7,000, over the course of a week for easy math. If you hit it 5 days, that's 5,000 more steps a week. And those things matter. Those things make a difference. And then we work up over time, right? So I've worked up to 5,000 steps, and here I am a few weeks, I want to say I'm 3 weeks postpartum, right? So still starting off in a place that's really manageable for me, but challenging me, so that when I get to a place where, it's a little nicer outside, when, I'm feeling a little bit more like myself too, getting in longer walks, going outside, getting on the walking pad, it's all going to feel just more natural. Still will be a challenge. I'm going to continue pushing myself and pushing that number until I'm where I want to be on a daily basis. But this is how we do it, right? Same thing with workouts. So good places to start. Step goals, that's one, like I mentioned. Workouts, adding in some strength training workouts. Again, I would not go from 0 workouts to 6 workouts a week. 3 is a great number. I know people have been working out for years who are doing 3 strength training workouts a week, and they are continuing to maintain their results, continuing to maintain progress. Start at 3. Start at 2. If you've never strength trained, if you've never lifted weights before, start at 2. It's better than nothing. It's better than where you were. And if you look at, over the course of a year, if you're doing 2 strength training workouts per week versus 0, that's a lot more strength training, right? That's over 100 strength training sessions that you would not have otherwise had in. Now, do we want to work up to a little bit more at some point? Sure. But start there. Meet yourself where you're at and then up the challenge a little bit, right? It'll help you stay more consistent. You start hitting those 2 or 3 strength training sessions per week, and then you figure out a way to add in a 3rd or a 4th or a 5th. And I'm not saying that 5 strength training sessions needs to be your goal, but you start somewhere where you can challenge yourself a little bit. It's manageable, but it's a challenge. You start to enjoy that process. You can consistently work it into your life. And then it's a baby step to add the next part in and to add the next part in. And then before you know it, you're night and day difference from where you started. So that's another really good place to start. And then another thing that you can start with is figuring out where you are nutrition-wise. So if you are starting from 0, rebuilding from the ground up, step goals are amazing. Strength training workouts, adding those in are amazing. Figuring out where you are nutrition-wise. 2 things come into play there. One major one is hydration. So like I said, I have a daily water goal that I'm working on hitting. Most of us are just forgetting to drink water all day. I used to drink like a glass of water, maybe all day. So maybe I would drink, maybe 20 ounces of water in a day, but a lot of days I would just forget, right? So you could start there. You could also start with, again, nutrition-wise, figuring out where you are. So not even setting, calorie goals, macro goals yet, starting to track your food or even just journaling your food and figuring out, hey, look at the basics. Am I skipping breakfast every day? And am I starving by lunchtime? Am I skipping lunch every day and I'm starving by dinner time and eating all the snacks in the pantry by the time, it gets around to the evening? figuring out where you're starting there. Should I add in another, nutritious snack at 3 p.m. so that I'm not crashing by dinner time? So figuring out where you are nutrition-wise is another good place to start. So if you are beginning from zero, rebuilding your journey, I would pick 2 or 3 of these things to focus on. Another thing you could do too is, set yourself some goals, right? So maybe you want to run a 5K, maybe you want to be able to do a pull-up, right? You can throw some of these in too. I would pick 2 or 3 things that you want to focus on. Don't give yourself a list of daily habits that's, 10 or 15 things that you have to do every day. Otherwise, you're failing at your fitness journey, right? Pick 2 or 3 things. For me right now, that is step goals and that is hydration goals. And then I'm going to work in my strength training workouts when I'm cleared to do that. I'm doing some breath work and a little bit of mobility right now, a few times a week. But that is really, not too much for me to add on. I can do it while I'm watching TV. Not a big deal. So those are like my 2 or 3 things. And then I'm going to, replace some of the breath work or add on to some of the breath work with strength training. And I've already kind of started to make space for that. So it'll just be easier to swap out and swap in. So pick a couple things that you want to focus on, get really consistent with them, get really good at them, and they'll start to make a huge difference. Even if they don't feel that big at first. Again, to me, like my step goal, I'm like, what is this? Like I've never had such a low step goal in my life. But again, I've also never had a baby in my life. I've never been at home, working from home with a baby in my life, right? This is just new circumstances, and these are things to be celebrated. Again, like you are at a place in your life where you've never been, and we need to celebrate that too and adjust our routines as needed to work with where we currently are in our life. So once you have all these steps kind of put together, what you need to do last but not least is start identifying yourself as this new person that you are being. So for me, my identity is I'm a person who is active even with a baby, right? You can be a person that hits the gym after work. You're a person that prioritizes your health. And it's really important for you to say, I am this person, right? I am a person who goes on weekly runs. I am a person who walks the dog every evening. I am a person who pays attention to the amount of protein I'm getting in each day, right? Instead of saying instead of saying I should start going on weekly runs. I should start paying attention to my steps and the amount of protein I'm getting in. I'm going to look at my hydration. I'm planning to, start hitting the gym after work. We need to cut out all those I should, I will, I'm going to, I'm planning to, and you just start saying I am this person. Because even if you have a day where you fall off, there's days where I don't get all my steps in, I'm still a person who is very active with a baby. I am still a person who prioritizes movement with a baby. And are there maybe some days that things just don't happen perfectly how I want them to? Maybe there's a day, where I don't hit my step goal this week. I am still a person who is striving, or not, I caught myself. I am a person who is active with a baby. I'm a person who is moving with a baby. See, striving means you're not that person yet. So I even catch myself sometimes. But we want to start identifying as this person that you are now, right? That you are not becoming, but that you are. So even if you have not gotten to your goal, like if you are like, well, my goal is to run a 10K, but I'm not a person who's run a 10K because I haven't done it yet. Yeah, but are you a person who is consistently running? Are you a person who is training? Are you a person who is enjoying getting outside and, again, running on a trail, things like that? those are all part of the process and still part of the identity that you now are. So I hope this helps if you are restarting your fitness journey kind of from the ground up, rebuilding things. It does not have to be overwhelming. I want you to get excited about it instead, because that's really where I'm at right now. Is I got to the end of my pregnancy and, I was active during my pregnancy. I would have loved to be a little bit more active, lifted a little bit more, weights a little bit more, but I was trying to just figure things out, trying to navigate my first pregnancy. I am happy with how healthy I stayed. I'm happy with how much movement I did. And I'm just excited for the next part of the journey, no matter where I kind of left off, right? I feel like I left off in a pretty good place. Maybe it could have been a little bit better, but I'm not really looking at that right now. I'm looking at how excited I am for this next phase and what I want to accomplish and who I want to be this year. So hopefully that helps. I think the baby is waking up, so we finished just in time. And leave me a comment if this was helpful for you. You know where to find me if you're listening to this, most likely on Instagram at @LindsaySherman_fitness. And I will be recording another one very soon, so I will talk to you soon. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Balanced Hustle podcast. If today's episode resonated with you, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Be sure to leave a review or share with someone who needs a little extra balance in their hustle. For more tips, tools, and resources to help you reclaim your energy and build the strong, vibrant life you deserve, follow me on Instagram at LindsaySherman_fitness, and don't forget to subscribe here so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, remember, progress is always better than perfection. Keep taking those small steps. They'll tell you exactly where you need to go. Talk soon.